Hey folks, so it is day 84 here and we're going to do a quick little check-in on our basil baby. One, we're going to see how it's doing and settling into its new forever home. Two, we're going to chat through watering and how we should be watering it now that it's outside. And three, we're going to talk through what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks on this plant and what we should be looking for in terms of its growth and development. So let's pop the lid off here and take a look at it. Now, just as a reminder, I really enjoy and recommend using some form of a dome over top of our basil baby because they really like those warm temperatures, and earlier on in the season we want to create it as warm as possible. It is going to thrive in temperatures as warm as 30, 35, even 40 Celsius. So don't be afraid to create a really nice and warm environment for it. And with that, it is looking really good. It's really nice, green, lush, full of life. It's in a really good and healthy place. And so that new growth that I'm seeing on there, right, that it's looking really green, really lush, all the leaves are really kind of standing up tall, that is all signs that the root system is establishing, settling in, and recovering from any kind of trauma that would have occurred in the transplant process. So the fact that it's putting on new growth means that the roots are doing well and they're settling in to their new home here. So I'd give that kind of a bit of a check mark that it's in a good place, good position coming through the transplanting that we did. Second piece that I wanted to talk through was what do we do watering wise? And this is where there is not a black and white answer in terms of this is exactly how much everybody should be watering. And the reason behind that is because each of us have different environments. It is going to vary depending on how warm it is for each of us, how much wind there is, as you can probably hear in the background right now, how much rain we've been getting, etc. Those are all factors that impact how much water we need to be giving to our plant. And so this is where you as the gardener need to be taking a look at your plant baby and understand what signs and signals it's giving to you in terms of how much water it needs. And what I encourage you to look for on this front is if the leaves are limp and wilting over at all. That's a really good indicator that, oh, this plant baby needs a little bit of water. So if you spot that the leaves are looking a little bit wilting, then go ahead and touch the soil and dig about 1 to 2 inches in there. And if you notice that it's still really dry, then the reason why those leaves are looking wilty is because there is not any turgor pressure. And what that is that the root system is not able to find any new moisture to bring up to the leaves. And so those leaves don't have the amount of moisture in them that they would like to be standing up nice and full of life, which is why we now see them wilting over. So if you spot that they're wilting and then you dig kind of 1 to 2 inches in, and if you notice that it's dry, that's your indicator to give this plant baby a whole bunch of water. And now for watering, for myself, in this 5-gallon grow bag, my kind of approach is that I grab my hose with the shower setting turned on, and I come up to it and I turn it on, and I basically count to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's gonna fill it up with water, probably a couple of inches, like it's not all going to soak in immediately. And then I'd go to the next plant and I do the same thing, count to 10. And once I've gone through all the plants, I then come back for a second round and give it another 10 seconds worth of watering. And that's what I do for all of my babies that are in grow bags. And then I keep an eye on them over the course of the next day or two to see, okay, is it looking like it's back and rejuvenated and full of life? If that is the case, then I know that it's in the right direction there. For the raised beds, I've got those on an irrigation system where they get 30 minutes of watering every day, but that's spread all throughout the soil there. So a much larger area that the water is soaking into. Third piece and final piece for today is what do we look for next in this plant? And so with, say, our kale babies, those leaves are just going to continue to grow and it's not going to bolt or go to flower. Say something like spinach, it is very susceptible to bolting and going to flower. And with our basil baby, it too at some point will be trying to go to flower. But this is where we have that great opportunity to be pruning it at the nodes that are showing up to then create a bushier and bushier basil plant. So my encouragement to you is now, as your plant begins to grow, keep your eyes peeled for any nodes that are establishing. And then as you see those popping up, feel free to prune it when you want to have a meal. So on this baby here, I can see that, this one here, it could get beautifully pruned right there. and then I can take all this top foliage off and then throw that into a dish inside. So you are at the point where you get to start enjoying the fruits of your labor. And my big encouragement or recommendation to you here is to kind of harvest enough basil at a time that you're able to do something with it, whether that is throwing it into a pasta, whether that's making a pesto, whether that's just having it mixed into a salad. Lots and lots of ways of going about using it, but definitely put them all to use because they are so tasty. All right, so with your basil baby settling into its forever home, you've pretty much done it. And this is one of the beauties of basil, is that once it is out into the garden, it's fairly low maintenance. All that we do from this point forward is really just pruning it, watering it, and enjoying it in different dishes. So the next video in this playlist is one final check-in a little bit later in on the season so that you can see it around kind of day 115 or so, and have a bit of a feel for what your plant could and should be looking like over the course of the coming weeks on your end. So if you are curious to see what that looks like, then go ahead, head into the next video. And then if you have any questions in the meantime, please do ask those down in the questions because I'll be able to lend a hand on any of them.